Hi, it's Peggy at Headshots by Peggy, and you are going to love today's vlog. We have Allan Wasserman. He is a veteran actor, a comedian, a musician, a director, a producer. Allan, is there anything you don't do?
I take good naps in the afternoon. I'm very good at that too. If you could put that on my
And a napper. Well, Allan, thanks so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I want you to tell us a little bit about how you started your career and how you ended up moving from New York to LA. And well, we'll just kind of start there and then we'll go.
Oh, well, I got my little taste of acting in public school. I got cast in first grade in what we used to call the Decoration Day play. Decoration Day was what we used to call Memorial Day in my day. And my mother and sister got very excited. I got cast. By the way, I'm in touch on Facebook with the woman who I played opposite with in public school. She reminds me all the time. And I remember the character's name. I played Carlton Randolph. I had to speak in a Southern accent. Now here I am, this Jewish kid in the Bronx. I don't know anything about a Southern accent except from what I see in cartoons. But my mother was a great mimic, had a great ear, and she coached me, and they were all thrilled that I was in the play. And it got me special attention in first grade that I loved. Then second grade, I was cast as the understudy of Santa Claus, and I was very angry because I felt I was a much better actor than the guy who got cast. But he was fat, so he was better cast.
That is funny. In second grade, you're already like, I'm better than him. What's going on? Who's the casting director?
I'm already angry. Look at that. And just to test me, the teacher brought me up, for understudy rehearsal, and I nailed it. And he was panicked because he really didn't have his words yet. And then I acted at camp and at day camp and sleepaway camp. And then I got to that awkward age, like 12, 13, where it became embarrassing. And I didn't do it again through junior high school, a little bit, hardly at all high school. And by high school senior year, my high school put out a production, this is 50 years ago, a production of Guys and Dolls. And I was in the pit orchestra on baritone and sax. And I was sitting here thinking, I should be on that stage. I can do what they do. And I think I can do it better. And then I let it go. Nothing happened. I went to college in September of 1970. College was different, like the turmoil we're experiencing now. We had such turmoil because of Vietnam War protests. They shut down City College in New York for 6 weeks, for 2 weeks. I was only been in 6 weeks, and I never went back. I quit, and I moved to Florida, California. Did crazy jobs like loading trucks and boxcars and picking oranges and trying to work construction, and then came back, realizing that the blue collar world was a great world, but not for me. I went back to CCNY the summer of 71, and I didn't know what class to take. So I took an acting class, and I got bit by the bug. And then I took the following year, I took an acting class, and I really loved it again. And I felt, this is something I really like. And I remember my first audition was be almost 50 years ago, the fall of 71. I went to audition for a children's company. I was part of Arena Stage. I didn't have a picture resume. I put my name and my mother's phone number on a piece of loose leaf paper. That was what I had. But I didn't get the job, but I felt I really held my own with people. There were actors there who were working off-Broadway in the play The Me Nobody Knows and Broadway show. I mean, I'm with these seasoned people, and I think I don't have any training, but I kind of intuitively know what I'm doing. So that what started me. Then I went to school at Illinois Wesleyan because they had a great theater department. I kind of did very well there. And then I auditioned for Boston University in Chicago and transferred the third time to Boston University, which I met friends who I now have for years later. And that led me to Broadway. When I got out of college, my instructor, David Wheeler, was directing Al Pacino in the basic training of Pavlo Hummel on Broadway. And I was in union, and I broke into the audition, and David knew me and gave me and another actor the understudy roles of all the male roles in the play. So I went on a lot. I was 25 years old, and I was going on in all different characters. The other understudy was Bruce Weitz, who went on to be a pretty successful actor in Hill Street Blues and other things. And Bruce and I covered the entire male cast. In fact, I had a card catalog of each character, and I'd go to see the show every night and follow one guy every night to get the blocking, and really, or help me become a director, having to follow other actors to get my blocking down and see what they're doing and see what their changes were. And so it was an illustrious start. Of course, as soon as the play came down, I was on unemployment, and before long, I was working. They didn't call it a barista back then, but I was working, pulling coffee and cappuccinos out by Roosevelt Island in New York, and lots of waiters' jobs. 10 years in New York, and then in the late 80s, around 88, I got cast by Penny Marshall, who I adored, in Big, and got my first film and really loved it, and decided I'll move to LA. And now I've been to Los Angeles almost 35 years. And that's the Cliff Notes version of my trek. In the past 35 years I'm very glad to be here. I've directed a lot of theater. I've done a lot of guest stars. I've got to work opposite some really great people. And at about to turn 69, I'm on a series now with Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell. I recur on that series. I think I've got one more shot left in me on that. Next month they bring me in for another day, and I just keep hanging in there. And I run a jazz band, and like your partner Merricky and I wrote theater company. I'm also involved with Interact Theater and the Rogue Machine. So I keep, which are three theater companies in Los Angeles. So I keep myself very busy, pandemic or not. How's that for a? Is that covered? Should we sign off now? It's enough already.
Well, that's something else I want you to talk about.
They bored everybody to tears by now.
No, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. So that's something else I want to talk about is you keep busy. You're not just, hey, I only do this or I only do that. You're a comedian. You haven't even mentioned that you do stand-up. You were on Seinfeld. You were on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, you are a hilarious, you're a fun guy.
Well, stand-up was something I gave a shot at back in 1985 in New York. And I felt I had the talent, but I didn't have the drive for it. I much enjoyed more being an actor because I had a straight job where I was a salesman in the daytime and running auditions, and then going out at night to do work in clubs where sometimes when you're new, you have to be the last one on at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I kind of shied away finally from the stand-up. And I just recently, last year, went back to it with a coach named Susanna Spies, and she got me up at a club in Montrose about 4 times and helped me put my material together. And that felt fun. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, and I haven't been really willing to do stand-up on Zoom, but I will get back to that. I've been lucky in comedy. I did a lot of comedy on stage in New York. And also, besides, when I was in New York for 10 years, I just wasn't in New York. I did a lot of regional theater in Ohio and all over the place. And so I really got a lot of muscle built going off to regional theater, which I really loved, by the way. And
so you've done film, you've done television, you've done theater. What would you say is the biggest differences between all of those?
Well, when you're on stage, there's no calling cut. And if something happens, you got to live with it and work your way out of it. In a film, if you mess it up, you go up on a line, you call cut, no problem. So theater really separates the men from the boys and the women from the girls. It you really get your muscle there. And that's where I got most of my training. So going to film and television was actually kind of easy in a way, because if I messed up, no big deal. You could shoot it again. You could, say to the director, I think I got a better one in me. When you're up there in the play, once the gun goes off, the curtain goes up, it's what happens. And that's great. For me, it was great training. Same thing with stand-up that way. You could rehearse it with a friend or in your room, then you're in front of the audience and someone catcalls or, says something stupid or someone drops a glass. You have to live in the moment. So one of the things I found I was pretty good at more than stand-up, there was improv. And that got me a lot of roles. Penny Marshall cast me in the movie Big with Tom Hanks. No written script for me. I just made up the stuff on the spot, and on the set, she let me make up my words. Curb Your Enthusiasm, the same thing. I did have to audition for Jeff Garlin and Larry David for about a half an hour in an office, but I'd worked with Jeff on a film before, and we got to know each other on location in Minneapolis on a Disney film, Castle Rock film. And so you know, nothing has been handed to me ever. There've been a couple of people along the way who really knew me and I didn't have to audition for, but that was based on years of them knowing me and having worked with me before. But most of the time, it's always back to square one. I gotta get in there and show them what I can do, just like everybody else. And it's the big equalizer. So there you go.
So I know you. We're personal friends. Mary and you and Amy and we really enjoy each other's company. So I know that you do more things than just acting. Like, you keep your mind busy, you have hobbies, you have other things that you do. And I always think that it's important to remind actors, especially young actors, to grow as a human. Don't just put everything into acting, because the more you know about life, the more experiences you have, the more you have to offer when you're in front of the lens. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, I think there's no reason to be just one thing in this world. You don't have to have one title. I got back to being a jazz saxophonist after putting it down for 30 years. I played from the age of 12 to 18. Then the 60s hit, and girls and politics and drugs and God knows what else. It took me away from it. And then 20 years ago, at the age of 48, I said, I don't want to die as that guy that used to play the saxophone. So I picked it up. I got a teacher. And for past 20 years, I continue to study every week. I have my own band. Pre-pandemic, we play in Pasadena mostly. And I've had a band of anywhere from 7 to 17 people on a bandstand. And I love it. In fact, I'm investigating taking a second instrument up now. I'm looking into vibraphone because I'm a big fan of Milt Jackson and Gary Burton and, of course, Lionel Hampton. So I'm looking to either rent one or maybe buy one on eBay. And I already have a guy who I saw at a gig who might be able to teach me. So I keep my interests going because they feed me and they fight the aging process tremendously. And I'm keeping very busy days during this pandemic. I mean, it's kind of Groundhog Day every day, but every day at 6 a.m. I try to run a couple of miles. Then I take my dog to the park. Then I lift weights. Then I've been studying Yiddish, which was the language I grew up around in the Bronx from my family and neighbors. I have been taking French for years. I practice the saxophone every day. I mean, fear is a great motivator. And, right now, life is so fragile. I've never lived through such fragility of life as now. Having friends gotten sick, and nobody that I know personally has died, but I know friends have been sick, and they're all, thank God, beating it. And you walk around thinking, geez, I hope I don't get ill. So I feel like every day, I've never lived in a manner that I wake up every day. Today, I have to live my life to the fullest because there's no predicting of what's in store. It's more scary, more fragile than ever. So I try to not succumb to the terror and the fear, but to try and stay healthy as possible and keep myself physiologically, artistically. I'm not really a spiritual person, but I do also meditate every day for about 6 years now. And that's really saved my life, saved my peace of mind. So I'm kind of, I'm like a kid at camp. I go from one activity to the next. I'm like a 69-year-old at day camp every day. And that keeps me buoyant, for lack of a better term.
And I heard a rumor that you directed a short film this COVID season.
Well, about 25 years ago, I read a book. I was really in a bad way about 25 years ago. And a friend of mine who felt I needed direction sent me the book, The Artist's Way, by Julia, she used to be married to Martin Scorsese. I can't remember her last name, but the book changed my life. I did that book. I committed to that book from cover to cover, did every exercise. And out of it, I created an evening called Common Ground, which is what I do is I went to actors that I knew. They said, create a 15 minute piece about something that changed your life. Here's the rules. I want you to do, you write it. Don't edit it until you get a director. You write it in the present, even if you're writing about the past, and write about something that changed your life. It doesn't have to be tragic. It can be funny. It can be tragic. And for 25 years, we've done it. We did it at the Acme Theater back in 1995 for 2 weeks to sold out houses. We've done it at the Hudson Theater with Rob Brownstein's and Actors Space actors. And we've done it about 6 times or 7 times. I can't remember now, at the Road Theater Company, which you know very well because you've been the photographer on all those projects. And it's a life changer. So, and I like to spearhead that. And the thing about doing these kind of things is, like, as an actor, you're usually at the behest of everybody else. You audition and you hopefully they're going to want you and like you. When you create a project, you're in charge. It's nice to, as Mel Brooks used to say, it's good to be the king or the queen and whatever in any case. And I like these other projects because they empower me. And I feel like I have some choice in how I'm navigating my waters, as opposed to just being someone who they'll hopefully hire me, hopefully like me, and even if I do, sometimes you do great work and they don't hire you and you want to kill yourself. So it's nice to have projects where you're in charge, which is why you and I, America, had such a good time. And we spent 2 years together, and I don't think we never had an argument. I mean,
I don't think we ever did.
No, how incredible is that? Didn't even enter our minds. And how badly we miss going on location and guerrilla filming around LA. And whoever's watching us, we're gonna Ira Aldridge, our film, is gonna win us some awards. Mark my words. You can write this down in your calendar the day I said it. So that's been tremendous fun. And Peggy, we and I and America I have another project in mind for the 3 of us, and hopefully in time we'll be able to report on that. I'm knocking on wood. And we had what a great team we had. Besides America, Peggy and I, we had Mike Brueggemeyer, an Emmy award-winning editor. We had Cliff Keller. Is that I'm saying his name? Yeah. Cliff Keller, wonderful musician, and his team. I mean, so you can make things happen on your own. I think the thing about being creative is to take responsibility to make projects happen for yourself and not wait for somebody else to cast you or hire you or give you permission. You say, I got an idea. And now between age and a pandemic, I feel like what's ever in my head creatively that I'm thinking about, I am not going to drag my feet about trying to get things done. Because again, it's such a tender, treacherous world we live in. So,
well, you're right.
A sip of coffee.
And being an actor, I feel like every part of an actor's life hinges on somebody else's decision. Call times, days of filming, like everything changes. Like you have no control over, once you finally do get booked, there's still no, you still are at the whim of everybody else. And so when you have something and you can create it and you can be in charge, and I don't mean that in a controlling or, bad way, but it's like, this is my passion and I'm doing it and it's awesome. And look what I made. It's a different feeling. It's a whole different aspect of bringing your art to. And we're so lucky to live in a day and age. When you started acting, this wouldn't have been possible. This would not have been possible. But because of the technology that we have at our fingertips, you can create top-notch, high-quality, amazing projects with your friends.
And also, the incredible surprises that came along the way. Getting chased from a location or getting to some place and it looking more beautiful than we ever thought, and learning as you go. I learned as a director to stand still, because when I heard something in the rushes, I heard me crunching around on the gravel. So the next film I direct, I will stay put. No happy feet. You, by the way, never shot a film before. No one told you how to shoot a film. You were still photographer and you became a camera person without having to assist anybody. You found your way. And I know you're doing things to further that now. So, I mean, you venture forth into these things and other doors that you have no idea were going to open for you. So I urge people, I always say to actors, if you want to be number one on the call sheet on a film, produce your own film. You'll be number one on the call sheet. It'll make you feel good. You don't have to you don't have to find yourself way at the bottom of the list. You go right to the top.
Exactly. And not only that, you learn, oh, now I understand why this happens. You know, as an actor, sometimes you don't understand, why do I have to do 20 takes and this angle and that angle? But when you're producing your own thing, you're like, oh, I see why this is important, or I see why, you know, different things. It opens your eyes. And when you know more as an actor, you're better on set. You're easier to work with. You bring more to the table, the more you experience and the more you know.
But you know, also one of the things I learned recently in the past few years, and it took a while, is when I direct, the less I do, the better the actor is. Meaning, more I trust the artist and let them relax and feel good, the more things they come up with because they feel safe and creative. So as Rob Brownstein, who I study acting with still at this age, I still study acting. We were talking about directing. He said, I explained that to him. Said, "Oh, good. You have to continue that. You have to direct with a feather. You know, I don't need to put my big thumb imprint and saying, oh, this is an Allan Wasserman film. I mean, none of that. I want to be as invisible as possible when people look at these things. You know, I don't want them to smell a director on it. And with trusting Merrick, and any actor I work with always works in my favor, because if you trust them, they relax and they come up with things that you might not have seen in an audition, you might not have seen in a read through, you might not have seen in a rewrite. They feel free to open and discover something new on the spot. And if you catch that on film, another thing I learned is I like to film rehearsals, because rehearsals end up being takes. Because when you tell somebody, oh, this is just a rehearsal, they relax and then they give you some, great stuff. And I also like to, it's not really trick, but when I want to get more takes out of them, I will say to them, you know, listen, we already got this, which is not a lie. We already did. I mean, I'm not doing that like a ploy, but I'm using it a little bit because, you know, if they're relaxed enough to know we've got it, we could move on. Now they can really relax because there's nothing, there's no sort of Damocles of having to be good or do a good job hanging over their head. They can just relax into it, and then some magnificent takes, which happens. So I'm not really lying, but I'm I don't know. I'm negotiating a little bit. I don't know the right word, but I'm playing around a little bit. But I don't lie when I say we already had it. I mean it. But it is.
Then it takes the pressure off, and it lets that go into the magical place.
But no, I really committed to saying that. If I'm going to say that, I got to be willing to move on as if I wouldn't shoot it again. But that's another way to get even a better shot. I also found when I'm on film, sometimes when the camera's not on me and I'm working with the other person, and I feel so relaxed, I said to myself, idiot, why couldn't you be that relaxed when the camera was on you? In fact, I even heard Meryl Streep say in an interview, she says, I do my best work when the camera's on the other person. So I love that. So I think one of the things is to try to, is really in the film situation and theater too, I want people to relax. I don't even want them to go sleep and take a nap in the middle of it, but I want them to be physiologically relaxed, no shoulder tension, face tension, so they can really get away from the sensitivity of being watched from an audience or camera and people and crew looking at them, so they can try to get to as most naturalistic a place as I can help them get to. Because I've been on the other side more, and I understand the difficulty of that. And people who make it look easy, it's not easy. It takes years to accomplish that. There are some naturals that take to it like ducks to water, but I think they're far and few between. Is that right? Few and far between? I don't know.
Few and far between.
Not that many.
So you have an amazing resume. You've been on some really amazing projects and films and television shows. What is one that's always going to stick out in your mind, either because it was so crazy of an experience or it was such a wonderful experience? Or maybe you can tell us a story of a good and a bad, or, you know, somewhere in between. But what's the thing that always sticks out in your mind as your kind of special memory?
Well, I'm not going to cover bad, because that just brings up bad vibes to people. I mean, I've got people I worked with I didn't like and didn't give me much, and I don't even want to mention them. what sticks out is, well, I guess, there's a couple I've been recognized for. People recognize me from Curb Your Enthusiasm as being the president of HBO from an episode called The Shrimp Incident. That episode is now 19 years old, and still people will stop me. And then in 2007, I did The Office. I played Nick Figaro, Michael's boss when he takes a second job. Young people who, were barely alive when it was shot, I've been recognized for that a lot. And I think I like that they recognized me those two jobs, because I really had a great time shooting them. I loved the work. I was, a lot of times I'll look at my work and go, I had better one in me that didn't make it, or they shot the back of my head because they were off the star. But in Curb Your Enthusiasm and The Office, they really gave me great camera time and great. In Curb, I created my own dialogue, and The Office, they gave me great dialogue, and I'm proud of those two, and they were a ton of fun. And I really, this last one that I shot with Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell called Easy Mark for Apple TV, I had a great time on that, and I hope that'll show in the when it's edited and finally screened. So it takes. I think you have to. I don't know. I made a decision that I don't financially need this anymore. I'm set in life because I worked my ass off, for years as a stockbroker. While I was an actor, I spent 30 years and built up my own stockbroker practice, which I just retired from a year ago. And I lived 2 or 3 lives in one day. And I've decided when I'm an actor, I've got to be something that I want to do and enjoy, not something that I have to do to pay the mortgage or feel desperate about. It's got to be a pleasurable, artistic endeavor. And it's also nice when I get paid for it. But, there's a lot of things that I've done that I love that didn't make me any. I mean, Ira Aldridge, nobody paid us to do Ira Aldridge, and the joy of our life. I mean, we committed to that for 2 years, and instead of saying, "Oh boy, I'm glad that 2 years is over," it's like we wake up and call each other, and go, "Gee, I wish we were looking for another location right now." So that's a place I've tried to ascend to and try to arrive there. And again, current situation makes one. In recent years, I've really focused on trying to be grateful, expressing gratitude. I try to be grateful every day. I have so much to be grateful for, so much. The list is a mile long. So I try to take that gratitude with me. I mean, the other thing I try to do also is I try to help younger actors. I've tried to help younger actors get representation, or if I see a certain audition that I know an actor friend of mine who's younger doesn't know about or doesn't have the representation, I'll say, I heard about this. I mean, that didn't happen for me. I would have liked it to, but instead of saying, well, nobody helped me, I'm helping anybody else, I take more of a parental position on it. I have no kids, but I feel very parental towards some of the younger actors in my acting class or in the company. And if I can help somebody, that helps keep me sort of solidify a legacy. And so someday when I'm not here, let's say, oh, I remember him, he helped me get this job. I mean, when I've helped people get work or coached people for jobs and they got them, it's as exciting and as gratifying as if I went and got the gig myself. I mean, people say, how could that be? Well, coach somebody or recommend somebody for a job and they get it, and you wake up in the morning with a smile on your face. So in Yiddish, the word is,
I feel the same way with headshots. When my clients say, I just got new headshots and boom, I'm getting auditions, I feel like it's you're part of it, even if you're in this stage, or this stage. It's still, we're a team. Acting, any project is such a team effort. And anybody that thinks I'm the star, I'm the most important thing, they're clueless, because everybody down to the person, carrying the equipment is vital to a project being successful. So,
but we must have been important because we carried our own equipment for 2 years, you and I.
Oh yeah, we did.
We're good schleppers, I'll tell you. I was very proud of the fact that I learned to carry a boom mic and 2 different things in one move, because sometimes when you're guerrilla shooting, you got to move from one location to another. Sometimes you get chased. Sometimes
you get threatened to get the police called on you.
You did. Sometimes the light is moving faster than we'd like it to. It's getting sunnier and it's not matching what we did just 15 minutes ago.
Or
And
people decide to play tennis next door.
Or a dog barking, or suddenly there's a sound of a truck and it's supposed to be 1880 and you got to stop. So we learned a
lot.
And we learned it fast. It wasn't like, what I loved about it is I thought we were good students. We didn't have to learn anything twice. Well, we made a mistake. We checked off, okay, we don't do that again, or we know how to do this better. Nobody went to film school. I mean, the only experience I had was being an actor. You shooting a million actors and being what did you know about being a film camera operator? Nothing. And you learned
very little. I mean, I done a couple of really tiny projects just because I was there and they were like, do this. And this vlog, this is the most I had ever used video, was doing, this vlog. Now it's on Zoom, but before it was, but yeah, so very little. Now I'm going to film school because I was like, you know what, even if I just make commercials for companies or, little things like that, I was like, there are a lot of things that I don't understand about filmmaking. I need to go understand this. So, it pushed me outside of my box, and I've learned a bunch of things that I wished I knew, a year ago when we started shooting. But hey, all in all, I think things turned out amazing. And that's part of just jumping out there and doing stuff and learning and having fun. Because even if the little project, it's 36 minutes, that was a good size short. Even if it had turned out horrible, which it didn't, it was still such a wonderful experience that it would have been worth it. But yeah, it's in the film festival circuit now, so we'll keep you guys updated.
Right.
And you can follow my page or whatever, and I'll have updates on that. But yeah, so that was the first film. I mean, you've directed theater, you've directed different things, but that's the first film that you've ever directed. Do you feel like, did you do anything different from theater? Do you feel like you?
Well, I produced my own film 5 years ago called Echo Park Blues. I didn't direct it. I produced.
What's it called again? Everybody, where can we see it?
I guess if you go on the internet, you should be able to find. It's called Echo Park Blues, and we won many film festival awards. It was the brainchild of my friend Michael Bofshever. He created the story with another friend of mine, Rick, and Rick wrote it. Hold on one second. I don't want to mess this up. Is it all right to stop like this for a second?
It is. I can even edit it. I can even edit our little stop out.
Rick Michael Bofshever and came up with an idea to make a film, and he contacted an old friend of ours, actor turned writer Rick Lieberman, and they wrote the film. And then we got some great people, Don Breithaupt to do the music of the Breithaupt brothers. They play all over the world. Janine Sides, there was camera department. We got Paula J. Parker to play opposite me as the lead. And if you've seen Hustle and Flow, Paula J. Parker from that and from Fridays, and great actor. So it turned out just great. But the only reason I bring that up is that I was around doing about everything on that except directing, but I watched how Michael directed, and I've also watched other friends direct. And I kind of, when I got on I thought our project was good because it was a solo piece and just you and I and Merrick, and that gave me time to take the pressure off myself to be a good director and just relax and trust shot to shot and find our way. And even though we had a shooting plan, sometimes we get there and look at each other and go, you know what, we shouldn't do this scene now, we should do this. And we did that. And I also liked including you and Merrick on the decision making instead of being the sort of the big leader, the big kahuna. It was nice to collaborate. Collaborating is something I really enjoy. I like being part of an ensemble. I like being part of a team. I don't need to be the main guy. And even if I am the main guy, I rather share that share. So being around making my own film, producing it, I was kind of ready to do this and I didn't feel in the least bit nervous. I felt excited, and I'd like to do more.
Yeah, and we kind of, any viewers that don't know what we're talking about, we kind of jumped in the middle of this. You came to Merrick a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, I got this idea I want you to do," and Merrick was like, "Yeah, sure, give me the script," and you were like, "No, you're going to write it," and it was originally conceived to be a one-man theater piece,
right?
And then he kind of got to that point where we were going to kind of start getting ready to put it together for a theater piece, and COVID hit. And so you were like, well, just videotape some scenes. So we were just in the studio, kind of the style that we would do a self-tape audition, just Merrick just in regular clothes and just kind of doing the scene. And you were like, wait a minute, let's film this.
Right.
And
we did. It's a great part. We did not plan to do a film.
This was never conceived to be a film.
No, the camera work was just a rehearsal tool. And then we looked at it and said, we're in COVID.
We got something here.
We got some. Let's do this. And then so it blossomed. It found its way. So the lesson is, collaborate with interesting people. You never know what's going to unfold.
You never know what's going to happen. Right. I mean, we started off here and we ended up there, and so don't be afraid to just live life. I think so many people get so like narrow-minded, like this is what we have to do, this is what we're going to do, this is the only way I can be successful is if I do ABC, and maybe over here is actually, you'll find more gratifying.
The less risk adverse you are, the better things turn out. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, the old stupid saying, "Nothing ventured, nothing gained," is just really very true. And again, what we enjoyed as an ensemble, as a team, we all jumped like a triumvirate, like a troika, into the driver's seat together. The three of us all driving that train, driving that sled, driving that film car, and doing it together was just wonderful.
It was fun. And here, look, I've decided, I need some more education. I need to learn this. I need to, this is what happens when I would have never, in fact, there's probably me on tape a dozen times saying, I hate video. I will never do video. I'm a still photographer. I like still pictures. Right. And here I am going, I think I'm going to go to film school.
What do you think that was? Was that fear-based perhaps?
No, it was arrogance. It was my arrogance that I can tell a whole story with one frame. I don't need, 24 frames per second to tell a story. Because I felt like my job as a photographer is that you look at one still picture and your mind takes you to that memory. I did events and weddings and families and all that portrait stuff for 28 years before I started doing headshots. I've only been specializing in headshots for like 5-6 years now. So I took pride in the fact that I could capture a moment in one frame. And, film is, cinematic film is 24 frames per second. So that's 24 pictures every second. And I was like, well, that doesn't take a lot of talent to do now, does it?
I'm going to have to agree to disagree. I don't think you have an arrogant bone in your body. You're a hard worker. I've known you for several years, and having collaborated on so many theater pieces where you show up, and then we have a cavalcade of still photos that sell the evening and get asses and seats, is not without you. So if anyone would deem it arrogant, it would only be you. And if it's the most healthy arrogance I'd ever want to be around. And if it is arrogant on any level, you certainly have earned it. But
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I will. I feel that I can privately at home have that in the back of my head. Like, excuse me, do you know who I am? But that's okay.
That's healthy. I love that.
I'm glad that doesn't come across all the time.
It's what gets the equipment out of the garage, into the car, and onto the set. And 2 years later, we've got a 36-minute film. It's what drives you. Like, I see it more as something like, If not me, who? If not now, when? That's Rabbi Hillel hundreds of years ago saying that. So I agree with him today. Not
I
me.
think that's great. I think that's great. What piece of advice would you want our viewers to go away with today? What's your impartation of wisdom?
Create your own projects. Yes, audition. Yes, you have the agents and the pictures and the resumes and the demo reels and all that stuff, and take class. Take class, by the way. People think, oh, they're too good for class, or class won't help them any longer. It's always a great challenge. I'm a big believer in it. Not for everybody, but I love that. But creating your own projects and continuing to study. I hope to continue to study till the day I die. I hope to keep creating projects till the day I die. It's what stirs me. It drives me on. It helps. I'm a person of childish energy, and it helps me direct some of that energy in a good way. But creating your own projects, because think about it. Who would Woody Allen be if Woody Allen didn't make Woody Allen films? Who would Albert Brooks be? Who would have Penny Marshall been if she didn't go out? If she was just that funny actress that got cast in Laverne and Shirley, that's all you ever knew about her. But she went out and directed great films. And all the great women directors are coming out there. Some of them used to be actors or used to be camera people, or people who, all these wonderful artists who create solo pieces. I remember walking through Manhattan like late 70s and seeing on a telephone pole a poster, something directed by Mike Nichols, somebody called Whoopi Goldberg. I thought, who the hell is that? This is, I don't know, 1979, maybe earlier. And I think she was appearing at Town Hall in this one woman thing. And I couldn't decide, who is this? She was Karen Johnson from the projects in Manhattan, became Whoopi Goldberg, created her own show, and had a magnificent career that's metamorphosized into all sorts of different things. So I think creating your own project, it's really hard. Not everybody wants to do it. I think everybody should try it. And if it's not for you, then you say, at least I tried, because if it is for you, it can change the direction of your life and your career in more ways than you would ever imagine. And sometimes it can just open up all sorts of doors that the regular, I'm going to audition and I hope they cast me kind of mentality gets tossed aside. I see more and more friends on the internet creating their own little TV series now and films. And I say little, I don't mean that with any disparity. I mean, it's like, okay, they haven't been hired by Paramount and they're not making $6,000 a week, but they're putting together stuff and getting it in the film festivals. And sometimes I'm not a friend of his or anything, but Chaz Palminteri was a character actor from New York, and Bronx Tale opened up his whole career for him. I don't know that he would have had the same career had he not went out and created that project for himself. So my advice, create your own project of any kind. Try it. And if it's for you, you're on a whole new plane. If it's not for you, you could say, I tried it, not my cup of tea. I like this route that I'm taking. I hope that's helpful.
I think that's brilliant. The other thing, you mentioned education, you mentioned continue to study. That's the one of many things that I really respect about you. You're just incredibly talented in so many different ways. Your comedy, your acting, your music. And every time we do anything with you, you're like, oh yeah, I've got a class. I've got a tutor. I've hired somebody to help me do this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he should be teaching. And he's still learning and still like saying, no, I've got so much more to learn. And I think that is such an amazing.
Well, I'm very lucky. This class I take with Rob Brownstein at an Actors Space, which we were doing at the Hudson Theater, but now we're doing virtually through Zoom. Because Rob is a working actor and knew who I was a little bit. We bumped into each other in the bank locally in Altadena, became friends. When he gets a gig and he works quite a bit, I get to teach the class. So that's also a learning experience because I don't get to teach every week.
Teaching is learning, yeah.
And sometimes, you got to keep your eyes and ears open and stay totally focused for several hours, which it's not quite when you're not doing it, when you're doing it all the time, I think maybe it gets to be second nature. But when I come in after having not done it for a while, I got to really, got to zoom in there, and I learn a lot. And I have to learn to. I've made mistakes in teaching. I've found in the past I'd been too heavy-handed and too demanding on people, and not as sensitive as I could be. And you learn that, unfortunately, that's on somebody else's pain. But then, I've had to make a few apologies over my time. And again, as quoting Rob, directing with a feather, and is where I'm trying to lead myself to, and trying to do less as an actor. I mean, that I know that sounds crazy, but especially for film and television, it has to be smaller and less, and you can't respond to what we call in our acting the call of the wild. We get these, big ideas that to do something that you think will get a response. I'm learning to rid myself of that and try to be more naturalistic. And when I see really good actors who work all the time, and you work with them, you'll find that there's no before they call action, from when they're sitting in their chair or walking across the lot to when they're in the camera. I see the greats. Really, there's no big change. They have the same moment to moment relaxation and focus off camera as they do on. It's their transition is seamless. And this last thing I was doing, I found myself at one point working with my shoulders a little tense because I wanted to be good. And I hadn't worked in a while. And I had to say, all right, drop your shoulders. Just relax. Just listen to him and live off the other actor. It's another thing I always tell people. Live off the person you're working opposite, just like you do in life. It's a great help. There's one other thing I would recommend is make sure you have a way to make a living. And that means if you're not making a living as an actor, I mean, I was a waiter for many years, and I have no disrespect for that, but there came to a certain point in my 30s where I'd been a waiter on and off since I was 15. So I found that I was a pretty good salesperson, and sales led me to brokerage, which financially saved my life. And there was a lot of acting going on in your acting skills can help you in other ways to make a living. There's a lot more things to do now than when I was coming up. There's all sorts of technological things to teach people. But if you're finding that you're having struggling periods making your bills because acting is not as fruitful as you would like it to be, find a way that you like to make a living that maybe is creative. That, especially if it could be your own business. Because my stockbroker ended up being my own practice in the latter part of my career. A lot of that was an accident too. I mean, again, you venture into things, and things are an accident. And I remember when I first got a brokerage job downtown LA, the manager said to me, "So Al, acting, it's over now, right?" I go, "Oh yeah." And then he goes to the movies that week, and I'm in this movie, Little Big League, and he comes in, the next morning, give me a look. I said to him, "Look, I did that right before you hired me, but you let me do my thing in movies. I'll come back, and the cameraman and the gaffer and the best boy will be my client." And that came to pass. I would work on projects. I'd have my card with me, and I'd leave film and television sets with new clients because I was one of theirs, And so there's lots of, the bottom line is make sure that you have a way to make money, to make yourself comfortable. Because I have too many friends who are my age and older who did not prepare for old age well, and I see them still struggling, and they don't, it's not their fault. They thought things would go a different way. Also, the business has changed so radically. So from when I started to what it is now, just in the past few years, I mean, I don't think, I think this whole Zoom world and this self-tape world, I think that may be here to stay, because it's going to save a studio money that Allan can shoot his own audition with Peggy in Pasadena and send it, and they don't have to hire a casting director or pay for one or rent a space or whatever. They see it as a great savings, I think, and they're still able to cast pretty well. So things have changed, and that's another thing. You have to be willing to change, and as I've gotten older, it's harder to do, but I see how important it is. So I try to stay as malleable as possible. And there's certain days that I don't want to do that, but it's just a necessity. So is that helpful?
I think it is brilliantly helpful. I think this was great, and I know all of the viewers enjoyed this. So please leave comments. Alan's going to He's gonna answer your comments. He'll see them. Now I always put.
How do I do that?
It'll be on Facebook. I'll tag you in it.
Oh no! All right. Maybe I'll hire someone to do that for me. Is that all right? No.
Yeah. I know you're on social media. How active are you on social media, and what platform would you like if viewers are interested in following you? What's your best? What's your favorite social media?
Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a Facebook addict, and probably too much so. But I will tell you the reason I like it is that when you're doing a piece of theater and you want to get people to come see it, Facebook's been a great tool. When you're making a movie, you want people to go to your film festival. Also, I came across friends from childhood in the Bronx that I would have gone to my grave never knowing what ever happened to them. And I found people on Facebook that I knew 50, 60 years ago, and it's a pleasure to be back in touch with them. And I may be too addicted to it and probably need to push away from it on occasion. But I get so much pleasure out of it that I'm tired. I don't want to live in the guilt of that I'm doing it. But I don't do Instagram, and I don't tweet, though I have accounts and that. I kind of don't understand them that much. So, but Facebook's been a lot of fun, and again, it's a great tool. It's a great tool to get your projects out to people quick and get support. I've raised money on GoFundMe. I don't know for projects. I've got people to come see getting people to come see jazz before is not easy. And I'm not the greatest musician, but I'm a pretty good hustler. And I have hustled. You
are a pretty good musician. I would say you're up there in the top ranks.
My band really shows the level. If I didn't have my own band, I wouldn't be gigging. So I'm very aware of that. But I think it's a great tool, and you got to find a tool that you're comfortable with and enjoy it. And enjoy is the word. Right now, I just want to encourage everybody in the midst of fear and terror and loathing and death and danger and uncertainty. Really stop, breathe, and enjoy as much as you can every moment. Really, and have hope. I know that's really hard to do right now, but I must really underline that. Have hope. Try to be hopeful. Try to stay positive. It'll make you physically, physiologically, spiritually, emotionally feel better. Try to steer away from and believe me, I have my moments of terror and darkness and paranoia and depression, and I try not to live that way for too long. I try to pull myself up and get out of that and try and find ways to stay positive. And not easy, but I'm pitching hope. So there you go.
Exactly. Well, I think this was great, Allan. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me and give all of this.
Feel free to edit any of this. Now that you're
my viewers are used to this, just they get it the way we give it to them. It's an unscripted, conversational. That's where the magic happens. If this were scripted, or if I said, hey, Allan, I'm going to ask you all these questions, be prepared, we wouldn't get the actual answers from the heart. And that's why I love doing these interviews, because I may ask, hey, is there anything I can't say, anything we can't talk about? But aside from that, we just talk, and I love that. And so I really appreciate it. So in the description below, I'm going to have your IMDb page so people can go check you out. And also, can I put a link up to the Echo Park?
I think if you put Echo Park Blues, echoparkblues.com. You could also put in allanwasserman.com if that's helpful. And I'm also Actors Access. I mean, all my stuff is on there. My whatchamacallit, my pictures, resume, reels. So, but listen, do whatever you want. Or don't do whatever you want. Whatever you want is good with me. But here's
It's
the
perfect.
best news is I know we'll be collaborating again soon, so I'm looking forward to that.
As always, I love seeing you and working with you and just being in, I guess doing this film was our excuse to distantly hang out. We have our mask on and 6 feet apart, but we were still in the same, conversation.
We stayed safe and nobody got sick in 2 years, so we must have done
Nobody got sick.
Again, knock on wood. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you guys for viewing. Make sure that you leave me tons of comments. Share this with everyone you know. Most importantly, have an amazing week. I'll see you next week. Text or call today so that we can get you an effective headshot that you can use as part of your marketing strategy. Headshots by Peggy. How can I help you?